Good morning, folks. It is a pretty special morning for more reasons than one. The main reason is today we get power. And today I'm letting the professionals take over. So stick around and I'll show you what we're gonna get up to. First up, I've been working a couple of hours each evening to try and get a bit of the prep done. As you might know, this is our charging station corner. Consumer unit's got to go in here. Then I've got all of the trunking in now. So this is the dado trunking. Everything's going to be in there, from lighting to electrics, maybe some data, and maybe an airline. Apart from that, it's very much straightforward. Well, for me at least. And somewhat more importantly, I've made a massive batch of pizza dough. A couple of test fires this week to dry it out. So I'm thinking we're going to fire up the oven for lunch. Whew. Wow, Faith, this has got a big one, Lily.
Yes, it's fine.
So far, so good. I think everything's going to plan on the outside. The supply is coming in from the house. It's coming in currently up on the fascia board, or just below the fascia board. When I redecorate that, paint it and trim it, then I'm going to move it under. But that's the armour cable. We've got 10 mil. It's chunky stuff. It's kind of like as thick as a garden hose, and fortunately we've routed it in underneath. Is it in now? Is it up? Yeah. Cool. So it's coming along and up and into our consume unit that side. And then on the outside, finally got 3 lights. I was going to put another one on the other end, but I couldn't get one in time, and I think this is fine. So there's 3 evenly spaced along here, floodlight on the back, and then external socket down here for all those external messy jobs. And also it will give me a temporary supply if I want to run any power down to that shed at the bottom. So it's just kind of future proof as always. Oh, we're good. 0.92. Right. Cool. I'll do it. There's not many shadows on it. Not sure I need to be concerned about shadows. Year 8 electrics. I just about remember what I'm doing. I have to solder our new one on. So with this 24 volt LED tape, you can go a little bit further before the voltage drops. So hopefully our 8 meter run, 7-8 meter run should be okay, and that will take me all the way along to that corner. Well folks, we've still got some stuff to do, but the workshop has power, it's got lighting, so there's no excuses now. We need to move in. Let me show you around. So welcome. It's a bit empty, but for now let me show you everything we've got. I know I've touched on this in previous videos, but let's go through the setup as far as the electrics and the lighting go. So everything is based on a dado trunking which runs around the whole workshop. That means that nothing goes through or around our posts. It's all nice and neat in between our timber frame. So we've got a total of about 12 or 14 double sockets around the room. The lighting, we've got this one, which is all of the lighting that I've now just finished. That goes around all the beams at the top. And then the other 2 switches give us independent controls for both sides of the workshop. So that means when I'm filming, I can knock off that side and I can just use my studio lights if I want to, and I don't have to have the bright light above, but there's loads of options. We can play around with that in the future. We come along around the corner. Remember, everything's counterbalance, so we've got all that nice space to move cables around. At the top, where we go through the metal, this is pretty brutal stuff, running through steel cladding. It's very sharp, so everything's of course sleeved and run through conduit. The way we've done that is just in some plastic conduit, and then it's just siliconed to there. Now, I can put some trim piece in here, but that's the only one that's actually visible. The rest are up here for the lighting, the floodlight that's on the outside, or down the bottom as well, but it's all sealed. Then moving along the trunking, we've got 2 fuse spurs here. One of the switches is just basically an override, which goes down to the double socket on the outside, the external socket. That's safer for kids, of course. It means I don't have to put a padlock on the sockets outside, but it also means that there's no power on the outside. So if someone wanted to bring a circular saw and cut through my wall, at least they're gonna have to go cordless. Anyway, and the other fuse spur is gonna be for a future fan. I'm gonna put a big fan up the top there, bit of dust extraction, but more for airflow, so I can switch it on there and we'll just have like a heavy duty fan that's going to pull up through the top there. Again, moving along this side, it's going to be all work surfaces, so we've got loads of sockets there. At this point here, the cable drops down and along the beams and back up again. That means that this section here can have a background for tools and, you know, a timber board as a tool wall / video background, and I don't have to run the dado trunking long. And then my favourite corner, which currently is the messy corner, is over here. So this is our armour cable that comes in. We ran 10mm in the end, 16mm, I mean in hindsight 16mm would have been a nightmare to get through because it's just such hard stuff, especially on a cold morning, to wrestle that through and around corners. So it's 10mm armour cable that comes along, at the moment it goes along the studio roof line, and then it comes across overhead. In the future I can trench it, I've got enough slack there to do that. It comes then down through the counterbattened outside, cladded along and then up. So you can see just in there, it comes up behind the beam, straight into our box. Nice little neat box up here. And we've got 2 radials for all of the sockets and then the light switch. I'm no expert on things, but I think the way it's been done on the inside, there's another box like this and it's split before it goes into our consume unit in the house. Split tail, something like that. So basically it means that this is completely independent from the house. The only thing is, I think that if this RCB trips, the other box like this in the house will probably go as well, but it won't affect the house. Anyway, moving on down, here we've got our charging station. We have a shelf above, shelf below, cameras. This one's got USB, so it's super simple for phones and things like that. The rest of this is just for battery chargers for tools. So I'm going to cut some shelving, sit them in here, maybe 1 shelf, maybe 2 shelves, and that'll be kind of central space for charging. And on the outside here, there are no nice external switches, but I did find this one. They're normally surface mounted. This board here needs to be fixed back still, but I've recessed that into a hole. So these LEDs show that it's off, so you can see where they are. So if you come out at night, you flick that one on, which will give a floodlight on the back. That floodlights the chicken run and the veg patch at night. And then this one gives us some lighting along the outside there. Now there were a bunch of people commenting about using the kinetic switches or Quinetics. They're really good, they're wireless. I hadn't seen them before, and James said that we could have got them for this if we'd thought about it in time. I couldn't find them locally, and I'd already cut that switch in. But what that does is it means we can have a switch in the house for for anything really, but mainly for those lights, and it just means that you can click it there. It's also wireless, so what it does is it works, from what I understand, the click of the switch, the physical click, is what gives it the impulse, the signal to the bit that's hardwired into the lighting. So in other words, you don't have to have power where that switch is, I think. But it sounds quite clever. Maybe we'll look into that in the future. And then finally, in the workshop up here, we just run some trunking along here, trunking, conduit, and then just use some metal clad type boxes. So we've got 4 sockets which sit above any central workspace, and also 2 of those will provide power for a couple of video lights if I want some more directional light. It's very flat, even light in here, which is great for work, but not so interesting for filming in. Another thing to mention is these LED panels, loving them. I know 6000K lighting temperature seems quite cool when you see it in comparison to other things or in a house, but 6000K is in that sort of daylight range. So if we're looking out here and then we're spinning in here, it's a really natural feel in here. It doesn't feel like that blue-white that you sometimes get, and it's just going to be super easy to color balance. So I've got those, the strip lights and my video lights are all about the same color temperature. But we've now basically got heaps of light, heaps of power, and a fair bit of space. I'm going to start moving stuff in today, but I'm going to kind of just test lay out things in here before I start building cabinets and shelves, because I don't want to just jump in at that and then regret things. So hopefully we can get a bit of a feel for how things are going to work before we jump into that. Now, of course, there's no way I can finish up this video without saying a huge thank you to James and Liam. They offered up their services about a year ago when I was just talking about this project on Instagram, and I finally took them up on their offer, and they gave up their Saturday to come over here and put everything together in a really, really professional, high quality way. And electricians, electric services for this house, we've just had a bit of a nightmare. Our track record for finding a decent electrician is not good, and now we can finally say that in our theoretical renovation team, we've now found a really good electrician. So if we take on another project here or any alterations to the house, I know who I'm going to call, and I'm going to stick their links and stuff down below. I just basically tried to keep them fed all day with homemade pizzas, running to Screwfix for little bits, and hopefully it worked out that by getting all that prep done, just the fitting the trunking and the lighting frames and stuff like that, it meant that they could do it all in one day. And I dare say it's probably a 2 or 3 day job that they managed to wrap up in a day. So huge thanks to them. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I've got a whole workshop to move. But thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.